Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It is a new season. It is a blank canvas. It's time to paint pictures and tell new stories and also make our predictions. Let's rock and roll, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
So I did it again. I set the time in for United States. So there's going to be a lot of you that will be like, what? Are we going live now? Yes, we are going live now. For those listening on Apple and Spotify, thank you also for making us part of your day. And those listening on replay on YouTube, appreciate you. Don't forget to leave all of your passionate comments in the YouTube comment section. We've got him back, one of our favorites. It's been a long time. We've missed him tons and tons. The midfield battler, maybe he was a little dirty, or you could call it dark arts, the master of shithousery, Mr. David Hillier. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, glad to be back. Been a while, but I've overcome a few grievances. Obviously, Kev, you know, getting over that. But yeah, I'm back, and I'm playing hard.
I love it, as you always did, which won you championships, European trophies, domestic trophies. I love the start of the season, and there's no one better I could have thought of to talk about it than someone who wore the shirt with so much passion and so much pride, seen it all at the Arsenal. Welcome back, David. Indeed, please listen to our Chief Like Officer. Good evening, squaddies. Thank you so much for joining. It's beautiful to be back with you this fine Monday. And ahead of a week where the Premier League starts, it's all the hope. It's right here in front of us. Let's say hello to a few of you. Yes, that was Tammy telling me see you later. Is the show 11 p.m.? No, I think I got it right in the end. Lone Star, Carol, welcome Demsek, welcome Seb. Thanks for helping put everyone straight with the time as well. PW is here. The whole fam jam is here. Thank you so much, as always. We really appreciate it. Ian's here. Terence is here. Good evening, everyone. All right. Slowly, everyone's joining. Shaitanya's here. Nick is here. Paul is here. Thanks, everyone, again. So we got David Hillier in the house, and it would be remiss of me to not bring something up that David warned us about before the start of last season on this very show. Now, I love that listeners like Demsek and Ian in particular do bring this up. I think Tammy's brought it up a couple of times as well. You were on the show and you said to me and the squaddies, Mr. Hillier, that you felt going for the title in a third season would be really hard for Arsenal and that you feared for them a little bit after missing out so closely the previous two seasons. Now, I like to call myself Sostradamus, but not so much on this one. You were right. What do you make of that? You called it. Yeah. It happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get many things right when it. I always, I'm over optimistic at times. You know, I'll say Arsenal are going to win 4-1, and it ends up being 1-0 or 2-1. but with this, I just felt that after 2 seasons of going so close, the third one without a boost, without something that made the team different, would have been super difficult. And, you know, we competed obviously a long way in the Champions League as well. And I felt that just took its toll. But so I just feel that this season we've got some key additions. If I go back to in 1990 when Wrighty and Anders came, and all of a sudden livened that squad up from day one when we turned up at Trent Park to start doing our pre-season training, it was like, we've got what we need to take us to that next level. And I've got that feeling now, looking at the side, you know, we've still got all the key players, all the ones that do exactly what the manager wants. You know, they do the right things in the system, but we've got one or two who can now just play with that little bit of freedom, and the rest of the team work towards those players. And I feel that that could make the difference alongside the fact that, you know, I've watched Liverpool over the pre-season and I don't think they are what they were last season. So this for me is the opportunity. It's the final year of this process that we need to achieve it. We've got all the ingredients. They just got to mix it up right and put it in the oven for the right amount of time. And I just think something good's going to happen this season. I've got a really good feeling.
Well, you were right last season, so I'm really hoping that you're going to be right this season as well. You're listening to Monday Madness here with former Arsenal midfielder Dave Hillier. Let's talk a little bit about the getting it right part, because I was messaging you yesterday, and one of the things I've really been curious to talk to you about are the tactics. And there was a little bit of a meltdown in pre-season. I didn't have a meltdown, Dave. I just was red flag for me. We're playing the same way. Nothing's changed. Then the Bilbao game comes along and it felt like Mikel unleashed the popcorn players and it was great, but they were so poor. That team was rubbish. I don't care what anyone says, but we still perform. You still have to play who's ahead of you. And there was some phenomenal glimpses of the players, the HAVERTZ run, GYÖKERES getting his goal. I thought Madueke came on and did great. But I wanted to talk to you about this because it's the biggest concern going into the season for a lot of fans is those 2 seasons where we played sexy football, popcorn football, we came super close. Last season, Mikel went more conservative. Some would argue that it's because of the injuries. I wanted to talk to you about tactics the manager works on in training, week in, week out, especially before a game, and the player freedom on the pitch once they cross those white lines. Can you talk me through that a little bit? You played under George Graham, who was a hard taskmaster. Yeah. Talk me through it.
But I don't think there's a lot of similarities between George and Mikel, because they appreciate the different qualities in different players in the squad, and it's about getting the right blend. And to be fair, so pre-season's bollocks if you're going to look at results and the way teams are playing, because everything is mixed up. The manager's looking at one thing, he's looking at different ideas, and it isn't until the last couple of games that he sets out his main team. And we've seen good things with that main team. So you'll have young players integrated. You know the Max issue, like is he too young to start? And he's far too young, but he's been integrated. He's starting to blend into part of the team. And I think pre-season for Mikel is about looking at the individuals, the way they play with each other. Are they all on the same page? Can they take instruction? Can the certain players have to be on the pitch to support other players? I was on the pitch to support Anders Limpar, right? To do whoever was next to me in the midfield to do their running. If I was playing with Davo, I was doing Davo's work so he could get space. If I was playing with Rocky, I was playing with him so that Rocky could get space. And you're looking at the whole sort of just the whole mix. So for me, pre-season isn't a real good a signaler to what's going to come in the season. What the manager's looking at now, he's got a great blend of players. He's got the forward he was missing last year. Hopefully, we'll see that he needs to stay in that centre forward position, you know, ideally to be that target man. But I just think it brightens the squad, and he hasn't done anything else with any of the other players. They're all playing the same way. So, you know, there's two kinds of teams that can win a Premier League. There's the team that is feared and the team that is fearless, right? And I was trying to think, how do I explain this? But it's quite simple. Arsenal have always been a fearless team. They're best teams. They've never been feared. When we won the league, teams always thought they had a chance against us, and it was down to us to beat them. But you look at the Man Cities, the Liverpools of last year, teams go there and they're scared before they even get there. So that's something that Arsenal just have to overcome. And I think Mikel understands that. And he's got a team now that hopefully this season will be fearless. They will just push on through whatever. When the Brentfords come up and think they can nick a point or take all three, it might be a 1-0 to the Arsenal season. It might be one of them seasons. So don't worry about the popcorn football and all this PlayStation shit that they play now. You know, it's the teams that want it most, the teams that are the toughest, the hardest, the most mentally strong. And I really think that Mikel is trying to focus on that rather than the football, because I think this football's got a bit silly. I see teams in the like Div 2 trying to play out from the back. And it's just like, why do they do that? Well, because the Premier League do that. And that's the way football's gone. But that don't win you games. You've got to have a team of winners. And I think, and I hope we've got a team of winners this year.
I've been saying it for quite some time, Dave, and Fusion, not Jazz, is saying it. We went from playing fearless to fearful last season, and maybe the injuries had something to do that. And I would maybe argue with you that Invincibles team used to scare the bejesus out of people, right?
The Invincibles team is the only team in the history of Arsenal that have been feared. I swear down, that is the only team. I was thinking about it and thinking, oh, you got Pires, you got Henry, you got Vieira, you've got, and when people see that team sheet, they're thinking, shit, we're gonna get rinsed today. We'll be lucky to get a draw. And I don't think Arsenal have ever had a team like that before or after that. I honestly don't think it. But our team of 91 were a team of fearless players. So were the 89 team. Look at how they left it to the end and battled all the way through, and like Mickey scored the goal. It was like, it's just what Arsenal do. And we've got to accept our place in where we are. And we're always going to be like that. And unless you get that perfect moment, you know, which was 2004 with that team. I think that was the most perfect team ever, the Invincibles.
Yeah. You know, there was a moment, I don't know if you remember the picture, I used to show it to you and Super Kev a lot as well, where that picture of David Raya, Benjamin White, Saliba and Big Gabby in the tunnel, just looking over at the opposition. And I felt in that season, we did start building a bit of a fearful factor to us. There was a mini intimidation factor in the tunnel. I think teams in that season felt like, you know, they worried about playing us. And we had that amazing home record. We started building a bit of a fortress, our fans. Last season, they stripped all that away from us. And we started playing defensive as opposed to offensive. And you've got all these creative players like stifling Saka, stifling Odegaard. Then the hamstring injuries came to really key players. We weren't prepared off the bench, Dave.
No, but you need, in that situation, so we used to line up in the tunnel and we'd look around thinking, like, so George used to match us up 1v1. He'd say, Lee Dixon, you're playing against Ginola, like, you know, this week. It's a one-on-one with him. I want you to win the battle with him. Tony, you're playing up against Mark Hughes. I want you to batter him. I don't want him to get a chance. Dave, you're playing against Roy King. Take him out of the game. Don't let him have a kick. So we all had individual battles. But do you know what we had? We had a game changer up front. So if 10 of us done our job, that little bloke up front with Wright on the back of his shirt would get us that goal. Or Kev. Because Kev was so underrated in them seasons for what he actually supplied. You look at his finishes, you look, he deserves the same accolades as Wrighty. He didn't get the same goals because he played the George Graham way. He'd done his job in the team. But if he was as single-minded as Wrighty, which I hope GYÖKERES is going to be, I really hope he's going to be so like focused on being the man that finishes the game when no one else can. And the player that all the other players look to get you out of jail in a 0-0 or in a 1-1. And that's what the side had needed, but also ZUBIMENDI. I think he can be key in there. Just with
Talk to me, Dave. I was going to get to him next because I wanted to get your take on some of the new signings, of course. But and again, playing a weak Bilbao team, but a team that he's been used to playing. I've been huge on Zubi. There were some Arsenal fans that actually were like, I'm not convinced, and some influencers as well, and people who have YouTube channels. Some pundits, mostly players, though. I saw that they see this. You're on midfield. Talk to me about Zubi.
Well, I think first of all, he ain't got a long time. He ain't got a lot of time to get started. You come to the country, you're here for 4 or 5 weeks, and you got to hit the ground running. So he's got to buy in to Arteta. He's got to listen to his manager. He's got to do what the manager wants him to do, but he's also got to be himself. And we've seen little bits of himself. He's much more visionary in certain positions. He's got a little bit more, probably a lot more technical ability than Jorginho. I think he makes good decisions. I don't think he'll put himself in a position where he receives the ball, for instance. He won't go and look for it from Raya 10 yards outside of the box if he knows he's got someone within 5 yards of him. Whereas I think Jorginho wanted to please the manager all the time and play that kind of football the manager wanted. I think he'll be his own man in there. But I think also his transition from that deep position, he can also move into the central and final third and make a difference. So I think that's a bonus. So we've improved that area. He's got to learn his relationship with Declan, because I don't want it to take anything away from Declan. I don't want him to feel sort of like a bit subdued because of he's got this great player next to him now. I want him to feel like he can still go and do all the things he did last season, because I thought he was a force in there. I thought he's brilliant. And he's also a 150% team player. And that's what you need. You need people that are willing to sacrifice their game for the team. But for me, it comes down to that centre forward position. We missed it so much last season. There was probably 10 key goals that a centre forward would have got you last season that would have got you at least 12 points. And where does that put us? 12 points at the end of the season. It puts us at the top. So that's what we've got to have. Things have got to come together this year.
Totally agree with you on that. And I just wanted to kind of swing back to the ZUBIMENDI and Declan Rice thing, because I mean, Declan was unleashed in that Real Madrid game, right? And you can educate me here. Do you see Declan playing a little bit more throughout the season, not against every team, like he did against Real Madrid with ZUBIMENDI beside him? And I wanted to show you this stuff as well. These are kind of like the key passes and the heat map for Odegaard, Partey, Jorginho, and Declan last season, and where they occupied the spaces most in the Premier League. And then this is ZUBIMENDI's heat map, and you can see kind of like where he occupies, and you could, obviously that final third. I mean, and that the heat coming from that part of the pitch, and also on the right there, and then his progressive passes, breaking the lines in La Liga last season. He was 4th behind Modric and Tchouameni. I mean, these players, Valverde, that play with some of the best attacking forces and plays in Europe. Do you see Declan being Real Madrid Declan, or do you see him being kind of, when we play Liverpool, we play Manchester City, it's a little conservative, yet it is also him going forward at given times?
I think, again, Soph, I think it's the relationship he has with who he's playing alongside and the understanding of the two players. I think you've got to really appreciate the player that's next to you. So for me, whether it was Paul Davis or John Jensen, so like two totally different players, right? But I had to appreciate what they was going to bring to the game, and did I need to cover them in certain positions, and did I need to maybe get forward off of them in certain positions. And it's how Declan just blends with ZUBIMENDI. I think, and it's about forming that relationship. It's about the manager in training working with those two. You know, when you're here, you need to be here. And when he decides to go there, you need to do this. Even if you still want to go forward, you have to look at Zubi and say, no, he's 10 meters in front of me. I need to get in that slightly covering position, even if I see an opportunity, right? And it's not for your own self. You're not being selfish in it. You've got to be selfless. You've got to say, no, he's advanced of me. He's in a better position. I appreciate that. I understand that. And when players start, we talk about partnerships of players, right? This is the key thing. It's how players play together. And we see it when Ben White plays with Saka, or when Timber plays with Saka. You know, and I think Timber's a great player, but I don't think he understands. I don't think his relationship is as good as White and Saka. And I just, you know, it's all about getting those key little partnerships on the pitch right, and it's all got to work at the right time, and things have to fall into place. And then when you're doing it week in, week out, and players are not getting injured, the manager's not having to change the team, there's that consistency there. It just builds confidence in the actual whole way the team moves around together. You don't get no one splitting off, trying to do their own thing. And we talk about like Arsenal teams being feared. You know, and I don't want to disrespect players. You know, Giroud, he's the highest scorer for France ever, right? But to me, when he played for Arsenal, if I was playing centre back, I wouldn't have been scared if I saw Giroud on the team sheet. If I was in the opposition, if I was playing centre back and I saw Ian Wright on the team sheet, I'd be shitting my pants. I'll tell you that now. And it's just having that ability to affect the opposition. And I'm just hoping that GYÖKERES, with his, we see the runs he makes across the front of people now, the danger he brings. If that blossoms, I think that's going to be key. I think it's going to be great for players like Saka. It's going to be great for your Martinellis. Odegaard's going to benefit from ZUBIMENDI, from all those little passes between the lines. But it's about getting it all to click. It's about getting it all to click.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what ZUBIMENDI does for Odegaard as well, and seeing the three, you know, play together, Rice, Odegaard, and ZUBIMENDI once the season kicks in and stuff. You know, you talk about partnerships. I asked Mikel about this last season because and Albert and I, who's on the show often, we talked about this a lot the last month or so, is what's happened to the partnerships from because last season it felt like the partnerships fell away. Maybe that's because of the injuries, Dave, and you talk about, definitely. You know, it had a lot to do with it. Another area of the pitch I want to get to is the left side, which has got some Arsenal fans in a total tizzy. I was super impressed, and I've been behind the Madueke signing, supported him, let him wear the shirt, see what he can do. I thought when he came on in the second half, superior to Martinelli. His decision-making, his touches, his crossing. But for the post, there would have been a fantastic combination between him and GYÖKERES for another goal. I was really impressed. Also, you've raved, and so have I. It's been a really good transfer window. But do you think that the left side is an issue, or do you see solutions there already with the players that we have? And also, Arsenal don't see Eze as a left-sided player, and you know that's kind of gone away. Whether it's an Eze or not, Rodrigo, I said on this show I could totally see him going to Manchester City. But on that left side, Dave, do you see a problem as an ex-player and going into this season? Do you think the solution's right in front of our eyes, or do you think we need more?
I think the left side has been the most. Sometimes it's got the most flair and danger, but it's also at the same time had the most weakness. We've conceded a lot of goals from teams attacking us down the right hand side, players out of position. With even Miles Lewis-Skelly, he's coming in done brilliant, but sometimes he drifts into that midfield position, which we don't seem to do from the right. Our right back doesn't get tucked in to become that midfield player. And I feel it is probably to accommodate the space and the ability to use the left winger. And you talk about Martinelli and Madueke. Martinelli's playing with 3 years of baggage on him now, from being in and out of the side, being great, being not great, Madueke just comes on the pitch and he's free at the moment. He ain't got nothing with him. He ain't got no history there. He can go and play free. So it's always great in the beginning. I remember when Glenn Helder came to the side, he was just like fire when he came down that left hand side. He done things we didn't even know players could do, and then slowly, as the pressure built on him, you know, it took his toll. He was in London, and a beautiful lad, great player, got a lot of respect for him, but everything kind of got on top of him a bit. In that honeymoon period, it's easy to play in a position because no one's got any expectations of you. Whereas Martinelli has got a lot of expectations. There's been questions about, is he going to stay at Arsenal? What stage is he at in his career? Is he thinking, look, I need a move to secure a financial future? I know players get a lot of money, but there's only the years run out really quick. So the 10 years you're in that position run out so fast. You know, Martinelli's used up 3 or 4 years of them already. So he's coming at it from a different perspective, but definitely that left-hand side lacks a balance to me. It's more changes on that left-hand side than sorry, Kev, than anywhere else.
He's disagreeing with you. He's like,
shut
up, Hills.
Shut up. Like than any other place on the pitch. There's been more changes there. We've had Zinchenko, we've had Calafiori, we've had Timber playing there. We've had Kieran Tierney at the end of last season come back and play in there. But that right side, if Ben White was fit all season, he'd have played every game because he was supporting Saka. And we talk about partnerships, and it's about that side has been a bit too inconsistent for me. So that's something we need to nail down. But I think both players, Martinelli and Madueke, I don't think we really need SA. I think he'd just, there's 2 players sitting out every game, 2 quality players out of 3 that are not going to play. I don't think that keeps players happy. Players want to play every game of the season and they want to be number 1, every player. Well, we're going to give them that opportunity.
We're going to get to who your starting left winger is when you give us your starting 11 for Manchester United. I agree with you in terms of. Let me ask you this: do you like the inverted role? Would you prefer the wing backs to be just banging down the flanks? How would you like? When you look at what Ben White does on the right, of course, it gives you balance. It gives you a little bit of versatility to have it one way on one flank and one on the other. But do you like the inverted role?
Yeah, but it's easy for Ben White because every time he plays, he knows he's got Saka in front of him if he's fit, and he can stick to a defensive game and back Saka up. Every fullback just wants to back their winger up, and if their winger can do the business, every fullback in the world would like to just sit in, tuck in behind their winger, give him the ball, and watch him go and set the other team on fire. That's the best feeling for any fullback because he knows he's a defender predominantly, and he's got his defensive position and his job covered. And if you don't concede goals, so you don't lose, right? So defense is the most important part of any team, and that's what George worked on. And I mean, how many times did Nigel go on an overlap or Lee Dixon? Come on. You never saw them go around anyone. And the one time they chose to, they probably did something good because it was the right time. And it was the only time in like 3 or 4 games that they do it. So you just need to support those great players in front of you. So for me, that inverted thing, it's a different game now. The reason why they invert a fullback is because if you've got 2 great central defenders, they will spread the width of the penalty box, right? When in possession, so there's no room for the fullback. He'd only be 6 yards away from him, 10 yards away. What's the point? So he's got to come inside and try and affect the play in the midfield. That pushes a midfield player on. That allows that rotation. But I don't know whether it's just engineering it for engineering's sake.
The modern day football conundrum.
I think a lot of the time it's just over-engineered. And if you've got great players in great positions, any team with the best the best 11 players in the world could play 4-4-2. If you put them in a world team, they could play 4-4-2 every week and be the best. I just think it's over-engineered, and that's my take on it.
I remember that time when Arsenal was struggling a little bit before the team really found its feet in the 22-23 season, maybe it was. And I was having a conversation with you and Kev, and you were like, he should just go for a 4-4-2. You know, adopt a 4-4-2. Just go, keep it simple, get results, and go from there. And the 4-4-2, it seems, I don't know, maybe I'm naive and not educated enough, but it definitely seems to be dead in modern day football, Dave.
Yeah, it is. But it doesn't appease the fan base now who want to see PlayStation football. Right. So when you're sitting there and you're going, oh yeah, my left back can cut inside, he can do an outside Cruyff turn, inside this turn, flick it to the player next to him with XY triangle fucking whatever button, and that they believe that that's football, and it's just not. You go back and watch Leeds in the 70s, right, on them shit pitches, 4-4-2, players going past people, exciting, dramatic, passion, flair. It was all there still, but it just but I think like anything, we just evolved to look for something better, and for some reason, something being better, it needs to be, you know, I don't know, easier on the eye or whatever, but it don't take away from the real true spirit of the game. And yeah, I mean, players are a lot more technical now. In my day, most left backs could only really play left back. Miles Lewis-Skelly could probably play centre forward and he'd be brilliant. He's technically good. He's got great movement, good awareness, ability. They're really interchangeable now. So the football's slightly different. But I just think that, yeah, I think sometimes you've got to accept. I think it's just the evolution of football with this changing of systems, inversion, you know, transitioning and breaking the line. It's just get the ball, give it to your best players. They take someone on. If you lose it, hard man hits someone, wins it back, snaps him in the leg, gives him an elbow, gives it to Kev. Kev muscles someone off the ball, slides it into righty, the goal. The fans go mad. You win 1-0. Everybody's happy. What happened to football? What happened?
Do you know what's really funny is the vehicle's the same. The goal is to win games, right? The goal, you know, but the vehicle is just different. The end game is the same, is to score goals, don't concede, win a football match. And we've talked about it a lot with the squaddies on the show about the overcomplication of the modern day game. Sometimes, like you said, when you see teams playing it out the back, it's like, what are they doing? And it feels robotic. It feels like Pep kind of created this possession obsession, because there was a time when total football, tiki-taka, I mean, it was some of the sexiest football we've seen in our time with Xavi and Iniesta and Messi, and you go back to the Cruyff days and stuff. So anyone who's going to sit here and say Dave's living in the past, like you, Harvey, you're saying.
No, I am living in the past. I agree with that. But if I'm living in the past, why do people still talk about Cruyff, George Best, Pele, Maradona? Right? Do you think Maradona came short and played little 1-2s in the midfield and got the ball off the back and like, no, he didn't. He got the ball as high up at the pitch as he could in a dangerous position, and he took every fucker on and he scored a goal, right? And that was the end game. He weren't interested in switching the ball left to right. And Baresi, one of the best defenders ever to kick a ball, he just swept around. He weren't interested in midfield players coming short to play tippy-tappy football in the midfield. That was bullshit. It was getting into the midfield or the front man and play off of them. And I'll be a defender and I'll do my job and take care of this back line so that the other team don't score. But I just think people expect now, like I said to you, teams in Division 2, if you go and watch Bristol Rovers, right, the goalkeeper gets the ball. The two fullbacks push right on. The two central defenders, and I'm not disrespecting them, but they go to the edges of the penalty box and receive the ball while they're being closed down by centre forward and try and drop their shoulder and play it into a midfield man who's dropped short. who's not got the technical abilities to, and they're not playing on the pitches are probably not exactly the quality of the Premier League. Everything's not in their favour, but they still try and play this kind of football that everybody's expected, that kids are taught from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This kind of triangulated, you know, opening space, making triangles. I don't know. I don't think there's any better football being played now than there was 30 years ago, or even 50 years ago. If you analyse it, just the pitches have got better, the balls have got better, the boots have got better, the training's got better, the boys are fitter than ever. It's just, but the football at the end of the day, it's about winning.
I agree. There's a lot of said, oh, football's so much better these days. Is it? I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing and spending time once with the great Carlos Alberto, right, Dave? And we talked about that goal in the 1970 World Cup final. And, you know, a lot of the times when you talk about like who invented the wing back role, that, you know, Czech Carlos Alberto, it was, and you mentioned Diego Maradona, you know, someone in the chat, he took on the whole England team from like, you know, in his own half, went on. That Italy Brazil game, the 3-2 in the World Cup, absolutely amazing. Look at the Invincibles battles against Manchester United. I'm sorry, they can try and promote and sell us Manchester City Liverpool as the new rivalry. It's not a patch on Roy Keane versus Vieira. And look at the football that Man United team played and that we played. The 91 team, I think, is one of the most underrated teams ever. The almost Invincibles Arsenal team. You know, George Graham was defensive and and we were called boring Arsenal. But that team played some really, really good football. My cousin Pete in Cyprus, who's listening to the show right now, stood on the terraces at Highbury and will tell you that he loved watching you and the boys play. It's like this grandiose myth that everything's better now.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, that's a really good point you make about the boring Arsenal, because I think if you took, I don't know how many Arsenal fans there were in the world at that time. Let's say for numbers' sake, say a million people across the world were Arsenal fans, and they all sung. Even the Arsenal fans sung boring Arsenal, right? It weren't just the opposition. But there was 1 million happy people at the end of that season who loved Arsenal for being boring Arsenal, and took the pee out of every other team and said, don't matter what you throw at us, we came back and we won things. Now the fan base is, I don't know, probably, what is it, 50 million, do you reckon, around the world? I don't know. But all of them, if you said to them, Arsenal are going to be boring, they're going to win 1-0 for 22 games of the season, they're not going to concede for 22 games, 23 games. I don't know what it was that Dave Seaman's record that year. They're only going to get beat in one game, and that's because their centre-half's in prison, right? But you're going to win the league. I don't think they take it. I think they want to see this kind of football. And I just think that's the evolution of football, fan base, of all of it put together. Expectation, and you know, I might be old school, and I don't care if I piss some people off. I just think that for me, football is a competitive game where you go out to beat the opponent however you need to beat the opponent. Tactics, how you play, how you get there, don't matter. What matters is the 11 players that go out there, work as hard as they can as a unit to their manager's instructions, with a couple of anomalies, like a couple of freedom players who shine. And it can be different players every week, but it's normally the same 2 or 3. And you all enjoy it at the end of the season. You all reap the rewards. That's just my take on it.
You and Kev used to say to me all the time, and I wasn't buying into it at all. And then in that run where we were getting close to winning the league, Kev was like, come on, you take those 1-0s now, wouldn't you? And between now and the end of the season, I'm like, damn right, I'll take those 1-0 wins between now and the end of the season if it means winning the Premier League. And you're right, it's everyone thinks the game's like FIFA and Football Manager. I want to get your take real quick before I get your starting 11 against United and your predictions. Get ready, squaddies. I'm going to hold everyone to account here. I did ask you when we were talking, you mentioned him at the start of the show, and I wanted you to kind of tie it in because you came through the Arsenal system. Dowman was one of our best players on the preseason tour, if not the best Arsenal player. We've seen Calafiori come back into the side a little bit without being injured. We can't like burn Miles Lewis-Skelly out the same way we did Saka. Waneri signs a new contract. They want the pathway to be clear. Miles has established himself now, but the word on the street is that Arsenal want the pathway to be clear for Dowman and Waneri to evolve in this team. Hence why they may not want to sign anyone else. Talk me through, having been the young guy coming through at Arsenal and getting your shot and your chance. Two very special players, different in different ways.
Yeah, but I think it's just different ends of the spectrum. I mean, apart from Waneri's and Dowman's talent, which was far exceeds what I could ever do football-wise with the ball. Their age plays a lot into it. I mean, Max he's 15. That's way too young to throw him into the fire. A couple more years, 17, when he's put on that man weight and he's got a bit of man muscle, man stamina, because he's playing free at the moment, and he is unbelievable. I just think you just got to be careful with him, guide him in gently. And I said in some notes I sent to you, he's much better off coming on a sub with 10 minutes to go when Arsenal need something, and he just brings that to the side. And in them 10 minutes, he can get the confirmation of what a good player he is. The players will confirm it, the fans will confirm it, and he's under no pressure. You start sticking him on from the start of the game, and if he ain't done nothing for 30 minutes because he's been cancelled out by a really experienced left back or right back, whatever side he's playing on, not only will he start questioning himself, other people are questioning. So just let him grow a little bit more. There's no doubt he's going to be absolutely fantastic. I think Waneri is at a point now where, like Saka was in his first season or his second season, he's putting on a bit of man strength. He's getting used to the game after a season and a half, and I think he's almost probably nearly ready to step in as a regular when one of the first names on the team sheet are not available. So when he didn't play, when Ødegaard was injured, and everybody's saying, why didn't we play Waneri? I think this season he's probably ready to take up that position if an injury occurs in that area, because I think he's got a man about him now. It's a real big transition from going from a 16-year-old into men's football. And you might get away with it once or twice every other week, and you might shine a little bit. But you know what? It's hard doing it week in, week mentally, because when you start working properly and you're like 19, 20 and you're going out grafting, whatever job you do, if you're a builder, you go on as a labourer for 2 or 3 years, and then you kind of feel like you're ready to step up to become a bricklayer or something like that. And it still takes you 2 years to transition into that. It's the same with football. He's coming out of kids' football where he's an absolute phenomenon. He's broke in and everybody said, wow. Just don't try and speed that up. Arsenal do not need to speed that up. So don't put no pressure on him. That's why you're bringing other players. That's why you need 25-year-olds, your Maduekes and other players that come in and fill them positions as more regular players than him. Just feed him in gently.
Agree.
Believe me, when he's 21, you think Saka's bad. If they guide him like they have Bukayo, wait till you see what he can do when he's 21.
I agree. I totally agree with that. All right, we'll get you out on these two. Your starting 11 against Manchester United. I kind of got the gist of it, but what say you?
So my starting 11, I'm not sure on how are we on Gabriel's fitness?
He played. I'm not sure he's fully back to fitness. He's been training. He played against Bilbao, came on, and I'd protect him at all costs.
So injuries aside, Raya obviously has got to play in goal. Although I think he needs to stop getting up the defenders' arses so much when we're going forward, because he's too close to them. I think he needs to. I don't know what that is. Why he gets so tight to the defenders when balls come over the top, because it confuses them. But definitely Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel. I'd go for Calafiori, fullback, over Timber on that left-hand side. I just think I think Timber is, he plays 100% with his heart. And I think sometimes, like against PSG, I think he gets caught out by clever players because he's playing tough, strong, hard, and his heart rules his head. I think Calafiori is probably a slightly better decision maker. So he'll know when to drop off and not to encroach into them forward positions and not go on runs. I've got Declan and Zubi in the midfield. Odegaard, Saka. Now this is my little sort of, you know, we're talking about that left-hand side. I think I'd have Havertz out there. I think he's looked strong. I think the manager, the manager has invested a lot in him, and he's prepared to go all out and do what the manager says. So he's one of my players who will be selfless in the game. He won't mind sitting out that left-hand side, maybe going into that centre forward position when GYÖKERES is out of position. So effectively to have two forwards up the pitch, especially if Calafiori plays inverted and pushes down that left-hand side. So I think it's a way of having Calafiori as kind of an attacking left-sided mid. And you've got to remember Declan's making runs because ZUBIMENDI's in that more holding role. I think he gives you more options. I think if you play Martinelli out there or an out-and-out winger, I don't think you've got that variety in the front line. I'd rather have defence solid, variety in the front line than the other way around. So I'm just going for Havertz and Zubi and GYÖKERES up front.
I haven't seen it. I have. So it's Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz, GYÖKERES. Have not seen anyone. Did not, pick Havertz. I mean, we've seen him play on that, on that left side. We've seen him play in the midfield. Yeah. That goal he scored, I don't care, as bad as I said Bilbao were, that individual goal was beastly. It was, I've never seen him kind of maybe make a move like that since maybe his Chelsea days or even for Germany. He looked sharp.
Yeah, I also think as well, I think that I've watched Martinelli a lot, right? And the best performances I've seen from Martinelli are when he's come on to the pitch, not when he started. And I'm not disrespecting him, but he's never been the best player from the start of a game. I think a decent fullback can suss him out. I think a tired fullback at 60 minutes don't want to see Martinelli come on the pitch because he thinks, oh no, I don't really need this. So if they have had an easy time with Havertz out there, that option of bringing Martinelli on for me is more advantageous to the team than having Martinelli start and bringing Havertz on.
This is why, Dave, I've got, for me, Madueke starts on the left because like Archangel says, and I've always seen Trossard as a super sub. And I totally agree with you about Martinelli. When a defender's been defending for the majority of the game and then with 20-25 minutes to go, he sees Martinelli coming on. I mean, Stevie Nicol was saying it on this show. Every time we play Liverpool, anytime I see him and Saka, they used to scare the bejesus out of Liverpool. And Martinelli did that starting sometimes, mostly. But now with his confidence the way it is, and you've got more reinforcements, I think he'd be a sensation at Arsenal having the role of super sub. I totally agree with you there.
I mean, I agree with you about Madueke. I think that, he is the kind of player that in the first 30 minutes as a fullback, you think, shit, he's going to terrorize me if he gets the ball because he's going to be on it. He's going to be trying his tricks. His pace is ridiculous, and he is going to give me a hard time. So it is a hard call between him and HAVERTZ. But I just think you're talking about the first game of the season. The question was the starting lineup for the first game against Man U, the first game of the season. I would go with the experience of HAVERTZ out there first, not to risk Madueke, but maybe 3 or 4 games in, that might be the change that I make to say, right, we've played 3 or 4 games, you've been slowly introduced, and set him free on that left. So I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I wouldn't do it on the first game of the season. Man United are up for grabs as well after last season. First game at Old Trafford, they're going to be cacking their pants that they all play well. They are. And you need a solid team up against them who know what they're doing, who are willing to just beat them down slowly and and patiently, and that'll be the Arsenal side.
Someone just reminded me that the algorithm's been thrown totally out the window today. I forgot that Hillier was on. I should never have put the ads on, that's for sure. All right, let's get your season predictions. Everyone, here we go. I promised you get you out within the hour. So let's do this in 3 minutes, our season predictions, so you can go have your roast dinner. Okay, here we go. Who is going to win the Premier League?
One of 4 teams. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City. One of those 4.
Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City.
And they will be my top 4.
Yeah. Okay. I'm doing my predictions on Wednesday, so I just want to get yours in. Okay. The bottom. Okay. So if I could show you guys the message that he sent me, because I said, Dave, who's your bottom 3? And literally,
it ain't changed.
It says Spuds, Spuds, Spuds.
Yeah, and it ain't changed. I think Leeds might struggle. I really do. I got a bad feeling for Burnley this year. I think they're going to struggle. And if I want to drag one of the better sides from last year down, I think Brentford, maybe because they've lost their manager. I think that might have an impact on them. But yeah, other than that, I think it'd be Spurs, or Spuds.
I like that one. That's a great answer. Who wins the FA Cup for you?
So FA Cup, difficult one. I've gone for one of 3 teams. I've gone for Newcastle. I think Arsenal have got a good chance. Great FA Cup history. It's been a couple of years since we've really done well in that competition, and I think Arteta might target that this season, even with all the games that are going on. His squad's got a bit bigger, so I'm going for Newcastle, Arsenal, or Liverpool. I still feel that they'll be in it.
I love how he's picking 3 options. Don't
yeah,
worry.
I'll pick one. It's difficult, isn't it?
League Cup.
Because I pick Arsenal for everything. So
the
League Cup was another good answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was any one of 6 teams who have nothing else to compete for. Probably Chelsea. That was your text to me.
I think Chelsea will win. I think Chelsea will win the League Cup because it's enough to keep everybody in their job at Stamford Bridge.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who wins the Champions League?
Oh, I think tough one. I think. I don't know. I think you can't write off PSG again. I think you can't write off PSG.
Yeah, they're pretty solid, aren't they?
I just think they've got their youth, the young players they've got, the key young players they've got in that side. I just think they can all still make a difference for at least another season, and I think it's the biggest thing for them to win. That's what they want every season. They don't care about the leagues and cups and stuff like that. They're targeting Champions League every season, so I'll go PSG.
Time. Well, you've been a champion on this show, no doubt about it. And don't worry, squaddies, if you didn't get it in live chat today, I will be doing my season predictions on Wednesday with Super Kyle Campbell, who'll be returning to the show. It's going to be a bit of a mixed zone show. It's not just about Arsenal. We're going to be picking all the awards that we can hand out, and it'll be a fun show. So don't miss that at 7 o'clock before the Super Cup final on Wednesday with Super Kyle Campbell. That'll be fun, Dave. Kyle making his return to the Highbury squad. You've been absolutely brilliant. Go follow Dave on the old X Sphere, please. Insights takes us into the dressing room. Gave us some really good stuff here. Please go follow him at Dave Hillier. It's got an extra R on the end as well. In 30 seconds, the guests always gets to close the show. Dave, you know what to do. What is your parting shot for the squaddies? What do you want them to know? What piece of advice? What do you want to say to them before the season kicks in?
What I'd say is work hard, play hard, be hard. This squaddy is out of here. That's my life. That is my life. What's the word?
Motto.
Mantra.
Mantra. Okay.
Mantra. Work hard, play hard. And enjoy. All
right, that's good stuff. I'll leave it at that. Squaddies will be back live on Wednesday with Kyle, as I said, at 7 p.m. UK time, just before the Super Cup final. And yeah, you're getting a lot of love from the chat as well. We love that. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them, Squaddies. At ease, thanks for joining. Share the show with everyone. And please make sure you share Dave's thoughts with your mates, because this was brilliant. At ease, everyone. Good night.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.